Hi, this is Kim, Jewelry Design Department at FIT. I'm going to do another video, continuing along in this 3D, three-stone ring exercise we're doing. Here's the template that I made in a previous video. The lines came out of my Rhino maquette, and I'm going to begin to sketch using them. Before I can sketch, I need reference, and so I'm going to bring up the reference. This is actually the same reference I had up in our folder earlier in the semester. Not in week 1. Not in week 2. I might. Here we are. Alphonse Mucha, poster artist from the Art Nouveau period. I decided I would use him as my research for creative purposes, aesthetic purposes. And there are several things I like in this image, but I'm mostly being moved by these long sweeping arcs that are then in some way variegated and changed just slightly to make them look organic. I would like to incorporate some of that in my ring. I'm going to copy this out, so Control A, Control X, Control W. I do not want to save the changes, otherwise I'll ruin my image. And then Control V, pasting it in here. And I'll label that layer Ref. So I have my Mucha reference now that I can work from. I'm also going to want a drawing layer to work with. And I'll label that drawing. DWG. So I have my template, my references, and my drawing. The references, it would be good to have it be multiply, so that I can see through it. Hit V so I can... Now sometimes, like right now, I'd like to be able to move this, and I'm hitting the V shortcut. It's not doing anything. You can't see that at home, but trust me, that is what's going on. So if that happens, I just come over here and wake the computer up, basically, by hitting it directly. So there's my Mucha reference, and there's my image. So I want to sketch pretty quickly for all kinds of reasons. Among them, I don't have time to make this tutorial. So I'm going to rotate my canvas. I don't like drawing straight up and down. To rotate in Photoshop, you just hit R, keyboard shortcut. And then you revolve the picture to where you want it and let it go. If you want to bring it back, hold Shift key while you rotate, and it will snap to regular intervals, which will allow you to bring it back. So I've got that. I've got my reference out. I could bring up a symmetry ruler, but I'm not going to bother. Not for sketching, as quick as I'm going to be working, or at least as quick as I hope to be working. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to pick a larger brush than I normally work with. Go with the Happy HB. 10 pixels. Yeah, that's nice. Except for I want it bigger than 10 pixels. About 15 pixels. And that color's a little dark for me. See, I don't want it to completely overpower what I'm drawing. So, oh, it's also on the refs layer. That's part of the reason. Refs layer was multiply, which is going to make things darker. But still. Okay, I'll call that good. So, working with my Mucha reference over here, I want to pick up some of that flow that I see in there. So I think I'm going to want my shank. For those of you who don't understand what you're seeing there, this goes dark to light, dark to light. I can set the front button on my stylus to Shift X. That's the keyboard shortcut, Shift X. If I hit Shift X, it reverses it back and forth. But I have the front button on my stylus set to that same command, so I just tap the front button and my pencil becomes an eraser. Okay, so I do want a soft shoulder, I believe. I know I'm going to have some kind of prong line in here. I have my finger rest in here. Kind of an awkward bump here I don't want to keep. So that's pretty much a standard three-stone ring. So that doesn't show any of the creativity from my reference. But if I bring up another tendril, that starts to become more interesting. And if I somehow engage the under bezel, like so. I need to take that brush a little smaller. You'll notice I'm working with a fat brush and I'm working fairly far out. The reason that is it keeps me from getting fussy. Getting fussy with this early on will just slow me down. So I've got that. In fact, there is potential, anyway, for me to connect these two. That's an interesting idea. Not sure it's an interesting idea that I love, but it's an interesting idea. How I want to incorporate that with that under bezel is unclear yet so far. I'm thinking about letting the bottom of this break from a perfect circle. As long as most of the points that reach the finger form a circle, sizing will remain true, and that's your main concern when doing something like this, is that you're going to mess up the sizing. And in theory, this could feed into a prong. That's going to change the angles in my maquette. But that's okay. That's what maquettes are there for. So I've got that going. The prong is going to want to come on the outside of this up here. And down here I can make it come on the outside of it as well. So I think this is too much detail. I think this is nice. And I think that tucking into there is nice. So that leaves my side under bezel, which I have to decide if I want to keep rigid and straight. Keeping it rigid and straight doesn't kind of match the rest of the design story I'm doing. I don't know. I'm going to leave it for now. I'll come back and revisit it. Bring this back to straight. Rectangular selection, M. Going to drag that marquee right up to that midline there. And if I can't drag it there, I'll move it there afterwards. Make sure I'm on my drawing layer. Control C, Control V. Edit. Transform. Flip horizontal. Back to V. That so I can move it. Now see, if I'd have used the symmetry tool, that would have happened automatically, and I could have been watching it live while I was working. But sometimes I don't want to see both sides. Sometimes it simplifies it for me to not see both sides. As I clean that up, I will definitely get the symmetry tool back involved. But for now, that's fine. Control E to merge those together. So I've got a front view. Now I want to work on my top view. And the top view, this flattened top view, I often look at as a side view because that's what it ends up being. I'm seeing a tapered shank. Now remember, this is 2 millimeters wide. Down the center. I'm going to want it wider than that. Notice how I'm drawing it thick, filled in. Digitally, that makes sense. With a pencil, it doesn't. But if I'm working digitally, it makes sense to work this way because I can come back in and pull out the middle with the eraser when I'm done. I would like there to be some kind of separation. Yeah, I would. I would like my shank to kind of divide. All right, I'm going to bring in the symmetry tool. My paintbrush. Turn on symmetry. Horizontal. And then find where Photoshop has put that at. Let's put it down here. Grab it and move it up here where I want it. Zoom in so I can place it accurately. Wow, look at that. It's placed accurately automatically. That makes me happy. And then go back to B, to drawing. It won't take a keyboard shortcut. Some commands, it just won't let you get back to where you want to go with a shortcut. And so sometimes you just have to reach over and pick your tool. Going to revolve again, rotate again, bring it back again, put my paintbrush back on. Yeah, because what I want to do is where I see this happening down here, I would like that to, two things I'd like to have happen. I would like the shank to tuck in the center and then have that merge away. Blend away. The other thing I would like to have happen is I would like to have where this breaks out to be thicker. I'm seeing a line here starting to develop in my idea. And if I'm going to put a line there, I've got to indicate it on the shank. Somewhere like that. And then have this widen back out again. Something like that. I think I would like this to be a little bit wider. Not a lot wider. Hope this has been recording my voice. I keep putting my hand in front of my chin while I'm talking, and my microphone is hanging below my hand, so hopefully half this video didn't just get muffled. Okay. I like what I'm seeing there. So I'm going to revolve back up. And now I am going to use a little bit of symmetry. So in the front view, so the symmetry tool is associated with the brush. If the brush isn't active, this isn't available to you. Transform symmetry just allows me to move it. I didn't mean to hit that, my bad. And I want vertical now, not horizontal. And I already know it won't let me use a keyboard shortcut, so I'll just go ahead and click over there. So now I have more of an idea of what I want to happen. I do see this now coming in. I want my brush strokes to become a little smoother. So I'm going to set that to like 28, smoothing. Smoothing makes the brush strokes get more computer involved, basically. So the more software gets involved with it, the smoother it becomes. You can set it really high, but if you set it really high, then your brush strokes move very slow. I'm not going to clean it up a lot because that's not the scope of this video. But I am going to tidy up a little bit so I have a better sense of what's going on. And since this is coming in split now, I have an idea that it's going to just feed into and become the under bezel. Something like that. And the under bezel needs to be heavy here, and the shank needs to have some thickness here. But I don't want it too static. I want some of this linear vine feeling going on. And this is overall also much heavier looking than anything Mucha would do. But considering that we're working with jewelry at a small scale, I'm okay with that. I do think I will let this come up in a little bit more graceful way. And I will let this, and it needs to retain some strength because it's the finger rest. It has a structural purpose in life. But this does not here. So this I'm going to let thin out. And And I will allow it to overlap because you won't see it from the top anyway. That half moon stone will cover up anything that's going on there. I have decided that this is going to be part of my prong line. So I will develop that a little bit. Now, I'm not talking or thinking at all about accent stones or anything at this point. If I have areas that are thick enough, I can consider that later. I could drop Melie into here if I wanted to. I could drop Melie along here even if I wanted to. But I'm not thinking that far ahead. My drawing's not that clean. But I do have, the reason I bring that up, is that I do have to maintain some thickness here for the under bezel, because that has a structural purpose. I have this kind of plant form, which works very well with a Mucha-esque sort of idea. And I think I'm going to accentuate that. I think I'll put in a very thin echo line, just something that repeats this pattern and gives me some of this variation in thickness. It's going to end up with a very thin airline, which is a manufacturing problem. But I like it, so I'm going to let it be a manufacturing problem that I deal with. And it's hard to get a stone of any meaningful size that's fancy cut. So I'm going to put a nice chunky Melie in here, round. And I'll three-prong it so that it gets kind of a triangular form. Now I'm going to want to play some more with these and maybe thinning some of this out or repeating that. I haven't decided yet, but that is enough for a general sketch. That does convey kind of what I want to do with the shoulder, what I want to do with the front, and so from here I will develop the design further. That's a good place to end the sketch. Now, a disclaimer. I'm using my very first sketch. Professionally, I would never do that. Professionally, I would sketch 2 or 3 more of these before I even considered taking one as my final direction, because the first sketch is rarely the best one. But in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving on this, so this is the sketch I will develop. So that's it. Thanks for watching.